What's news with you then, pal? What's going on?
I literally, oh my God. So, uh, uni is just absolutely mental at the moment,
Yeah,
just through the roof. But
yeah,
so I left to work. So when we all left, I went to do a master's
yeah,
and worked at the same time. And then
yeah.
basically, I never left Cardiff Met,
I remember you
which
working there out straight after.
oh God! But I was doing some hourly paid lecturing,
Yeah,
just as a fit, like to help because there was the volume of lecturing, and then two people went off, and I was basically covering their role,
yeah,
and then it's just kind of gone from there. I've been really fortunate, to be fair. Right place, right time, I suppose, and
yeah,
yeah, just but this year is it's not like it used to be. Like we were, I think that we went through uni and we had fun, but we got the job
yeah,
done, you know.
yeah. Well,
But
just about.
oh yeah, well I know, but there's always going to be a range of people, aren't there?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
But I do think the generations have changed.
Yeah,
um it's tough, but and this year it's even tougher with I think the whole online and getting used to that, and the students, bless them, imagine us going into
right.
first year now, like they've got a tough deal, really, because that's
Yeah,
when we met, Sinead, Jen, we Laura, we still call each other. So we called each other last Friday. We're meeting
yeah,
up on Sunday.
yeah.
It's you make your mates then, don't you? And it's
Fuck,
tougher.
I haven't even like. It's mad, isn't it? Like everyone grows up a bit. Like you don't really think about people like Jenny Heath and
Shut
Sinead
up.
and that. Like,
They're all like, right, they're all proper family and,
are they?
settled down, grown up. And I'm like, come on, I'm still the youngie.
Mate, I only
Oh,
thing is, I've had a couple of relationships, nothing bad. But like, I was because of my job, like I'm out. I was not this year, obviously, but I was out quite a lot. So
yeah.
I was just like, it was easier being single, and obviously I'm not shy, so just making friends now and again and stuff. And then like, I met my missus, and I was like, fuck, I'm 35 this month now, and I was like, oh, maybe I should probably like settle
Maybe you
down
should
a bit.
settle.
Like, it's been 2 years with her now, so. But like,
She's some of the pictures I've seen, some of the pictures. I don't know where, whichever media platform, but
yeah,
um, she looks good for you.
yeah, she's all right. She thinks she can like swig and out party me, and then I bury her. So she's got that youthful naivety about her, and
Oh
then
yeah,
I just bring the experience and the energy, and she's
ideal.
she's good with me as well, which is great. So yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
I've definitely done worse. Let me tell you, definitely done worse.
We won't go there.
Nah, one day I might do a podcast about myself, just to
You should. Oh my God.
tell
What
people.
you should do is
Yeah,
invite everyone, like people from uni, to just chip in
yeah,
and
yeah.
give their thoughts. That would be well. I tell you what, that would probably be your most listened to.
the
It
real
should be 100th.
the real university life.
Centurion
Yeah, that's a good idea.
podcast.
I'll write that
Write
down.
that one down. I'll get the girls to start thinking now.
Fucking hell.
They wouldn't
Plenty
be
of
shy.
plenty of disappointments. I was all right in that group of girls. I didn't really do too much there, so I'm all right. I'm not
We
too
didn't
bad.
let
No, that's yeah, that is it. I'd probably tried every single one.
you. You were just the one that everyone loved.
Oh, the chubby funny kid,
No, no.
still there.
Character. The
I
one with character.
Yeah, the only one. Half of it. I'm still in like WhatsApp group and still see like Hancock and Al Jones, Reese Davey, Dicko.
So, does what's his name? What's his first name? Hancock.
Tom.
Does
That
he
is Tom
teach?
Hancock.
Does he teach in So, what? St. Iris?
No, it's
No.
at Tylo's it was, but then it turned into Bro Eden. So he was,
Yes.
yeah, so he was there, but now he's back in West Wales as of
Oh, is
last,
he?
yeah, as of last school year or this school year, I can't remember.
Oh, so I'm
A year ago,
sure.
September, he moved there.
So he used to teach a couple of the students that came in, and they'd be like, "Well, Mr. Hancock said," and I said, "Mr. Hancock, where's he from?" And I was like, "Oh, if you knew what Mr.
Yeah,
Hancock did."
yeah,
Do you know him? And I was like, "No, no, definitely
yeah.
don't."
Yeah, he was teaching there for ages. So he was at Cardiff High for 3 or 4 years. They went to Bro Eden.
Yeah,
Bro Eden started out as a brand new school, so only had year seven, and then obviously
yeah.
year seven and eight and
It's
grew.
gone.
So he,
Right. Is it better for me to like have it here?
no, it doesn't matter, mate. It's like it was, yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Do I still look all right?
Yeah.
I've actually put some makeup on.
I'm about to say you've made a bit of an effort. I wondered why you were running late.
Yeah, well, bloody hell. I would have cracked the screen.
Shut up, you dick. Oh, funny, man.
Oh,
We'll be
God.
able to, there's nothing bad in here. Like, basically, I've, I always get asked to like chat with like more girls and just a bit because obviously
Good.
it's very rugby heavy, and I appreciate it's very rugby heavy because it's the easiest thing for me to get Wales rugby
Yeah,
players on and England rugby
yeah,
players on. So I'm trying to just branch out a bit now. I've found my feet with it, so I'm just trying to get different sports, different industries, different personalities. So I was going
yeah,
through the list, and I met. It must have been last year. I met Georgia Rowe, and
yeah,
I must have met her out or whatever, then Instagram, follow each other. And she said that she was going to do it before. And then
yeah,
I think she must have had like some bad news or something because she just went off the radar completely.
yeah, she has.
Yeah, so I kind of left that there. And then I was like, fuck, why? Last night I was, or the night before, I was thinking like, I must know some other people. But like, because I've got so many friends on Facebook which aren't even friends.
Yeah,
I don't see people anymore.
yeah, yeah,
And then I was like,
sure.
oh, fucking Suze will do it, surely.
I was literally like, oh my God, this, when you're like timing, and then I was like, actually, this would be really fun just catch it. And there's a couple of people. So Sinead and Jen have introduced me to Ria Mail, but
Yeah,
Birch
I know
Reaches.
Ria.
So she would have contact, and she's a big advocate like me for females. And that's so, to be honest, I'll be really honest, I had such an emotional day today, and I was really like, oh no, I just can't do it. And then I was like, no, I have to do this because I know that it's boy heavy. And I was like,
Yeah,
I always bang on about, you need to for myself, if I'm going to bang on about it, you've got to say yes to the opportunities.
yeah. No, that's
So
gonna. I I fully understand what the landscape's like. I'm in one of those fortunate positions where I get to look at professional sport as a fan, but then having looked after all the professional sports teams from a capital point of view, and then knowing the players, I almost see it
yeah,
from three different points, and I
yeah,
completely understand that it's very male orientated. It dominates the headlines. It dominates the money in terms of sponsorship and revenue, but
yeah,
then that's probably because it brings in more
yeah,
money,
yeah,
and there's that argument there. You look at, I had this
yeah.
conversation the other day about it was an American soccer player, Rapinoe, after they won the World Cup, and she came out and said, why aren't female footballers, soccer players, paid the same as the men? And I was like,
Wow.
I fully understand the equality side of it. And I had this conversation with one of my other guests, Jess Davis, the other week.
Yeah,
But I said, well, the thing is, for me, it's not about whether you're worth the same in terms of what you do on the pitch. Essentially, it's a business, and it's what you're worth off the pitch. And
yeah, yeah,
unfortunately, Cadbury's or whoever sponsor the Premier League in football
yeah.
aren't going to pay the same because the viewing figures aren't the same, and
Yeah.
therefore it's not going to bring in the money. So there's two
Which
sides to that
is
story, which I see both.
I completely get that, and you're exactly right. It's the investment and the buyback, isn't it? What are they going to get back from it? And actually, we always say it's going to take a little bit of something or from someone to invest, and they might
Yeah,
not see money straight away, but pre-COVID, before, where the women's sport kind of coverage was and the momentum it was building, obviously it's kind of taken this hit. But I do think that would have been an amazing time for someone to kind of thought, right, I'm going to invest in this and I'm going to leave X amount of money in it, and then I'm going to watch. But so talking about Cadbury's though, Cadbury's down in New Zealand, and they sponsor the netball. They have got a Cadbury's series, do you know? And it's you're exactly right. It's because the coverage brings in, and the viewing figures bring the money,
and
so
the attendance as well, like physical attendance.
Yeah, so I don't know if I think the whole like we should be equally paid. That's a tough thing, because I get the business of sport. Like, I mean, I help teach that. So I understand the whole, you know, investment and what you gain from that. But I do think there's invaluable or not, you know, things that can't be measured, like coverage, like this, being, you know, inviting to opportunities, and that's why it's, like I said, so important for women to put their hands up and say, like, I'll do this, or why aren't you interviewing me, or come on. But it's a tough game. I think it's even tougher now at the moment when there's male sports happening and actually their decisions that are being made dictated to probably by money. So
it's tough. So the academies, is it football, or like the women's academies at the moment the female academies are on hold at the moment, but the male academies are still running. But again, is that a case of these lads will go on to be an asset to the business, worth far more, rightly or wrongly, than the females? And again, it is a business. It's not, people aren't doing it for fun anymore, you know. It's a life.
But the business has to start somewhere, doesn't it? And it
takes, of course.
And I've got the side that I'm really interested in is, you know, females need role models and ambassadors to look at and to see, and that's not just in sport, actually. You know, if they see role models and people who they aspire to be like, they don't necessarily have to be like them in sport, but they can be like, you know, ambitious, motivated, and that could be in any walk of life. It could be just, you know, the big thing for me, when I worked in the valleys, was showing some of the young girls that I worked with who became young women. Actually, if they wanted something in life, or they wanted to be something, or they wanted to go to university, they could have been the first person going to uni. Then they have to look at the avenue that they need to go down to achieve that, and there shouldn't be a stopper or a blocker on that. Who do they aspire to be like? But I don't know. I'm getting on my high horse now.
No, look, I like it, to be fair. You look at this week now with Kamala Harris in the White House, the first black female to be in the Oval Office, and the amount of coverage that's been picking up from people I would never normally see Instagram or share stories about politics, let alone American politics. So it is making a difference, and people's voices are being heard now. Especially, you know, we've got so much social media coverage. People can, you know, if you want to be a broadcaster, but you're not getting the opportunities at a BBC or a Wales Online, go and start your own blog and your own podcast and your own YouTube channel. It's almost free to do. Go and learn your craft, and then if you're not getting picked to be at the top companies, well, just go be the best in the world then at an independent or your own thing, you know. And I definitely see more of that now with the explosion of social media. For all of its bad traits, it can give great things as well. So you look at TikTok now and influencing, and like, it's not my cup of tea. Like, I've never done a TikTok. I wouldn't know how to work it, but there are people now making a fortune on it. Like, and that there's no one telling them they can't do it. They'll just go and do it on their phone, and it doesn't matter if they're boy or a girl, black, white, wherever they come from, race, religion, whatever. They can just go and produce content, and the minute they start doing that, they're winning.
It's made the role models are far more accessible because of social media, and like you say, for all the bad traits or things that are said about it, actually, if it's used in the right way, it can be advantageous. And this coverage of, exactly like you say, over in the White House, and I'm in the middle of reading Michelle Obama's book. I mean, she's not a sports person, like, as in, she's not an elite sportswoman. However, she's a role model. She's more accessible. I think I've become kind of a little bit more savvy with that, looking at leading females that you aspire to be a pinch like, and that can be, again, like you said, using the current social media platforms. So I asked the students the other day, so what is it these are? TikTok, and we're on Snapchat, and I mean, I'm useless with social media anyway, time-wise, but that's how they're they're working and they're communicating, so that's the best way to communicate and connect with them.
So Joe Biden's TikTok or something had, like, it jumped up to 20 million followers, of which the majority were under like 35 or something. Like, these people, and then there was like a certain percentage which was like under 18 or under the voting age in America, but it was in the millions. Now, those aren't people that are going to directly influence the result, but they are the people, the next generation that you are going to talk to. So if you can connect to them, because that sort of 15 to 24 market is notoriously the hardest market for anyone to target. If you can talk to them in a compelling way with the right social media or media, whatever it might be, you're onto a winner.
Well, he's already talking to them for the next round of elections, really, isn't he? 4 years' time. And you're right. It's we're talking about this now, and one of the subjects I'm doing, it's getting into the mindset of the consumer, isn't it, and the audience you're trying to engage with and talk to them on that same level. And that's important, and that's why it's called that. I've seen some of the ladies, the women that you've spoken to, so just a couple, Alex, Donovan, Mika, that's cool as well. And I think it's important that females, women, young women see that and hopefully will listen and start to kind of think, good.
I could be that way. Look, I mean, we kind of started the podcast without really starting it there, which is...
Sorry.
No, I love it. So for anyone that is listening, this is Catflap Chats. I'm chatting today with Suzy Drane, Wales Netball captain, Celtic Dragons for 14 years, was it?
Yeah.
So a big old stint there. And then at the moment now, so you've had over 100 caps for Wales, is that right?
Yeah, correct.
Have you broken the record? There's 111, isn't it?
Yeah, there's Helen Weston, she holds that, I think, before my time, actually. So she was amazing. Still is, actually. You never lose it. Class.
And so you're currently senior lecturer at Cardiff Met. So we were in Cardiff Met together, which was UWIC back then. Class of 2004, I think I started. So we're fucking old. I'm, like I said earlier, I'm 35.
Yourself.
Yeah, 35 this month. So I'm past it now. But you're still there. You never left. You're lecturing. You're coaching there. And are you still playing, but in Bath now?
Yeah, so last year I played, I took the decision to take a step back from Super League, and mainly that was because of career pathway. I wanted to kind of have a bit of time with family after 14 years of travelling the breadth and depth of this country and the UK. It was time to kind of have a bit of time with my family and be able to go up and see them, and also my other half, he's been fab, but we're like ships passing in the night for I don't know how many years, so it was time to actually see each other, bless it for his sins. I think he wants me to go back.
He's there packing your bags.
No, he actually playing over there in the club. The team Bath Toucan, the Bath Toucans team it was. So it's the feeder to the team Bath Super League team. But they were fantastic, really really nice bunch. Hoping to play for them this year, but I'm not sure if we're going to see much community kind of club netball. We're still waiting, but yeah, it was wicked, and it just kind of allowed me to probably get back to my 15 and 16-year-old self of where I first started kind of playing in that club level. And fun times, weekends away with the girls, shopping, and bit of netball on a Sunday. I mean, still uber competitive, and I hate losing. I'm not a loser, but I might lose gracefully for the Sunday afternoon. But it's but no, also allowed myself and Adam to take a couple of weekends, spend some time together, and and finally managed to move house and get that looking a little bit nicer than what we have. I lived in the same place for 14 years, I think when we were in the second year I flipping moved and just used to come and kip down on the girls, what was it, Mackie Place?
The
Mackie Mile.
Lovely. They go bring back some memories.
Oh god. Oh yeah, I remember lying on the floor in a fat suit there.
Fuck me. We could do a podcast. You said earlier, I could do a podcast just on university memories and true stories. People wouldn't believe it.
I have got a fair few of those. Got some pictures as well by the looks of things. Got a few pictures of yourself. Yeah,
probably. There's fucking loads of me on the internet, mate. They need taking down. I should start a new Facebook and just delete everything, because that's why I could never go on Big Brother or Love Island. I'd win Love Island. Just put the budgie smugglers on with a bit of chat.
You'd be in.
I couldn't ever go on any of them, because the amount of skeletons in the closet that would come out. Every Tom, Dick and Harry's got a video or picture of me doing something I shouldn't have been doing. It'd just be absolute carnage. They were good times. It molds you into who you are now.
You're right. What was it? Reza Wednesdays.
Reza Wednesdays. Naked Tuesdays. Naked Tuesdays, yeah.
Naked Tuesdays.
Girls getting naked for the cheapest bottle of I say Prosecco. I don't know if it was fucking sparkling Lambrini, mate.
I'm not sure that was Prosecco. Not what I taste now, anyway.
No, exactly. We're doing a little bit better now. What has life been like for you then? Obviously, elite sportswoman, now forging a career, still in that university environment. How's that been stress-wise this year?
Like I said, so I took the decision last year to take a bit of a step back from netball, mainly to look at career development, and I'm hoping to, in fact, I've just accepted a place, so I'm really excited to get a place on a professional doctorate, and just got to sort out kind of the enrollment, which will be hopefully early next year. So really pleased with that, because essentially I've had that on hold for the last 8 years since I finished my masters, and that's purely because of time. I want to be able to. I'm kind of person that if I'm going to invest in something, I invest 100%, and that's what I was doing with netball, which gave me so much. Playing. You get into this kind of family. I know that we see the hashtag netball family, but you actually see these people more than you see your family, so they are your family. But I suppose it's on the horizon is hopefully perhaps even thinking of a family of my own, that would be cool. Lots of my friends are settled down now, and I think that when you've been to everyone's weddings and now you're going to christenings, and I've got a beautiful goddaughter, best friends, lots of friends I made in uni, that we're really tight, which is lush. But it's hard, I think, when you, I suppose you're transitioning and you're making decisions and you're kind of thinking, well, I've had this amazing time in netball, traveled the world, met so many so many amazing people, and I definitely have said I'm going to be going travelling. I mean, I was supposed to go do some travelling in the summer, but hey ho, that was put on hold. Not stopped, it was put on hold. So it'll happen. But I want us to go and see some of, you know, the people I've been able to play with and meet through netball, and you know, in Fiji, in Australia, New Zealand, the Caribbean. And I think now it's kind of, I'm in that transition period. I absolutely loved last year. I want to get my teeth stuck into this next kind of part of my career. It's been major busy in uni, probably the busiest I've ever found it. So you know, that is stressful actually, with the amount of repeats. Not like you and I knew, I don't think, with you know, you get into lectures, you hopefully listen and stay awake for the whole hour, maybe two if you're lucky. You know, the teaching staff now are doing repeats because there's just fewer numbers allowed in the classrooms. And I actually love the fact that we can be face to face, and so important. And I think when we're doing that, the students are really thankful, and you know, it's tough for them. But that's why I went into teaching, because I really like that age group. I like the people who to work with people who want to be there and develop themselves, and hopefully I can support that. And you know, I think back to when you and I were in uni, and I was really fortunate to have some, you know, good. I had excellent times, but I had some really, really good people that were that encouraged me to have those good times, but also to strike a balance. So it wasn't all like work. I had to be play as well. I was really, really fortunate, Julia's of UWIC as it was then, to encourage me to do that, and I kind of want to be able to give that to some, into the fact that I really want to do some work with this professional doctorate, and it's into physical literacy, and it's all about physical activity and sport, and kind of what you gain, I suppose, and what you can learn from sport, and the confidence, and not just being physically competent at something, but you know, how you are in your person, and what that can develop too. So I've got a real passion for that, as well as we were talking before, women in sport.
Definitely, you can see your passion just from you talking. It's interesting when you speak to, I say speak to as if I know these people, but when you see interviews with the likes of, you know, All Blacks and professional footballers. I spoke to the Exeter Chiefs captain, Jack, who was in UWIC a couple of years younger than us, the other day. And a lot of them, as much as they've got to be good players and physically good athletes, there's got to be no dickheads as well. You've got to have that personality, and you've got to have those characteristics, which, you know, put the team first and raise that team standard, those little 1%ers, and that's how you will get to the top.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, that's a phrase that I've used a few times. There's no dickheads, because you get found out. And if you're in a team sport, you get filtered out pretty quickly. In fact, I love the we had a talk by, I can't remember his name, but he wrote the Barcelona Way, the book, and he basically went into the Barcelona Football Club and looked at the culture and the environment in there. And I love this way that they were saying about they have a FIFA approach. And I said, well, you know, what's that? And he said, oh, well, it was basically a fit in or fuck off. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Damien Hughes it is.
That's it. Yeah, he was fab, really good, and I think that's my kind of you know, that's where I live at with team sports, and you've got to get in, you know, dirty with the team, and you've got to muck in and do the job, do the business, I suppose, do the hard work, and you enjoy the rest. If you're not prepared to do that, well, maybe go to an individual sport. Maybe be sorry for saying that, but
no, it's true. Like, and again, you know, you're talking from experience there. What did you say, 14 years or whatever at the top end of professional netball? How did you get into that, and what was your journey through growing up, and then obviously came to uni as well. But you were playing for them fairly early, and your Wales career as well. Kind of, what was that journey like?
Yeah, so that was funny actually, because I always think that it's really important, because lots of women or girls that are following netball will always think of perhaps me as, oh, she was always really successful, and that wasn't always the case. And you have to actually have these setbacks to make you the person that you are. I think I strongly believe that. So I started playing in kind of back end of primary school, and then moved up and played in a club over in secondary school, over in England, and then it came to selecting unis. And actually this was my first probably setback, was because I was only 17 coming to uni. So when I first applied for UWIC, which I don't know if you remember, because I had my 18th birthday and I think we went to Jack's. Oh God, wild. Officially I was allowed, but that was in the November, so I'd definitely been in the September, October, and the first. Don't tell anyone. It was way back when.
They're gone now anyway, Jack. See you later.
For sure. So yeah, I was first of all, I was told I couldn't come to UWIC because I was too young, and they wouldn't have me. So I was like, oh God, what am I going to do? So I was planning to go elsewhere. I was headed to Loughborough actually, and then next thing is I had a contact from Cardiff Met. They give me a call and said about coming down here, and I only learned actually on our graduation day that Julia had helped, had encouraged, I think they said, the school to reconsider my application. And next thing is I was in, and I suppose that 3 years is history. But right at the end of my first year, I was really lucky to get my first international cap. So that was 2005. So yeah, a long time ago. But that's what fits into those role models I had on and off the court, that kind of taught me about this balance in life. And really lucky to go then to Commie Games 2006. But then I didn't get selected in the 2007 to go to the World Cup. So again, that was probably a marker for me of I'd had this really good. So first of all, I'd got the blow of you're not going to uni. Then it came, and then I went to Commie Games. Then I didn't go to World Cup. And then there's, I suppose that taught me a bit about myself actually, and what do you want, and you work hard for things, and then if there's something that you want, you work hard to go and get it if you can, and then also kind of evaluate my own kind of what do I want, so sign up for a master's, and kind of fell into a job to have part-time at the same time. So if I hadn't have not got selected, I wouldn't have been doing a master's, doing the job, and then I got a job at Cardiff Met, and I've stayed there ever since. And they've been awesome for, supporting me with kind of going to the other champs that I've been to. So again, whilst it was, I still remember having a look at the letter saying, no, you haven't got in, and I was absolutely devastated. In fact, so devastated. I just got in my car. It was in Cardiff. Got in my car and just drove up north to see my family. But again, it was the making of who I am now. So I do think that those points in time are really important, if not more important, to share with people. Because they see me and they see others now that they think, oh, it's always been plain sailing for them, and it's not at all. It's those tough times that make you either continue on that pathway or have a look at a slightly different avenue, which might suit. So and I suppose I'm still on this same learning lesson really. I've kind of got this bit between my teeth at the moment that I really want to do this professional doctorate, and it's been in the making a couple of years, and last year felt like the right time for me to say, right, okay, let's kind of take a year to get things settled in uni. I did some coaching, and I've had to free up that time coaching wise this year, so I'm not coaching currently. Loved being kind of involved in netball, but it has meant that my netball involvement this year has really dropped because there's just not much around at the moment. But we're hoping, fingers crossed, that it'll pick up a little bit. So we'll see, though.
It's some journey. Like when you are that young and you're coming through, and you're obviously playing even at the same year group, you're still one of the youngest of that year as well. So, emotionally and physically, might not have been as developed as some of the others in terms of experiences and stuff. How do you deal with those setbacks? Because it's easy to get carried away with the highs, but then it's also to really feel the lows. How do you deal with those setbacks, and what advice would you give to people around picking themselves up and going again?
So I think it's important to get things into context, and I think it's probably good for me to share at this point, because I don't think many people know that. Actually, just before we went out, it was just after World Cup, actually, 2015. I'm really fortunate in a position that I've had an excellent family and really, really supportive. They've come to everything. But I've also had family, and inevitably everyone has probably people in their family who've had sicknesses, and I suppose context and perspective is really important. And I got dealt that, I suppose, in 2016 when my dad was really, really sick, very suddenly really ill, and it that kind of gave me perspective of, okay, life is important, and it's really important that you go for what you want, you figure out, and I suppose this is the simple message for me is that there are always going to be ups and downs in life. Someone once said to me, once one door closes, there's another one waiting to be opened. You just got to figure out which one it is. But actually writing down kind of how you're feeling, sharing that is really important. And it's human nature. If you want something and you can't have it, or you're stopped from having it because it's out of your control, you haven't been selected, or you don't get a job, then it is going to emotionally hit you. But you've got to allow that to kind of come through, and then figure out, right, what's my next journey? Because there's no point in wallowing. It's what's next. And that's probably for me. I remember thinking when I didn't get selected, okay, so what am I going to do next? I mean, it took me a week, to get past that. Like I was like oh God, don't talk to Suze kind of thing. But it is important that you then reset your goals, so realign, and then figure out, so how am I going to get to that point again? And like I said, it could be a slightly different avenue, but you're still heading towards the same target. And I think I learned that in 2007, but then again in 2016 there was a different. I just had this whole different outlook, and it was kind of what do I want from life? I'm a family person, family orientated, love my friends. I've got a really great group of friends that I massively value. Probably hadn't told them enough that I valued them. So I mean, that year I was really like, oh, I love you guys, thanks very much, and just making sure that they realised that. And actually kind of made me sit back and think, what is it that I want? And that probably was when I first started thinking, right, okay, kind of prospects and what I want to do with that. So that was when I first started looking at what next for me after netball, I suppose.
That's like, it's good that, again, like when I look at sport, I suppose from my point of view, and the majority of people that I tend to spend time with, we come from that predominantly male background, which is football or rugby, and the people we know in sport are sports people first and foremost, and don't necessarily need a second job. Then when you drop into that semi-pro, especially in rugby, then where they might earn a couple of quid rugby, but they work predominantly, the 9 till 5 is what pays the bills, and then rugby tops it up. How did you find balancing playing at professional level and then international level, with then trying to get further qualification, still keep a part-time job or work as many hours as you could do or needed to. How did you manage to find time away from all that to actually have a bit of you time as well and not feel guilty that you weren't either training or working?
Oh, I mean, there were tears, definitely tears.
Yeah,
Um, and there were also, the whole like the cash, because I like I said before, I was really fortunate that I was able to kind of come into job opportunities when I did. But I suppose I've always seen netball as, and like we haven't been paid as such. We were fortunate to get a certain amount of monies, I suppose, in my last couple of years that covered, a couple of pairs of shoes and some training
yeah,
gears, but nothing wild, and surely nothing that would ever pay, in terms of what I got, nothing that would pay for, my house bills
yeah,
would allow me not to work. So I suppose, and I think actually I'm quite lucky in that sense, and I see that as a positive, because it meant that I was always and have always been in love with the game, and I've only ever done it because of the enjoyment,
yeah,
and it hasn't really ever been about money, but that has then had its kind of the knock on to the challenges, which means that if you're training 6 days a week, and you could be training 3-4 hours, as with other sports, it just means that you have to kind of really plan your day, but also again, what is it that you want from life? And
yeah,
actually I was dealt a fortunate card of having an ability to play netball. So whilst I'm young and whilst I'm able to compete, I'm going to exploit that and use it, and actually, gain as many positive experiences as I can, really.
yeah,
But it wasn't easy, and I've missed friends' weddings, and just being tired. I think quite a few people would, especially in uni. Are you all right, Susan? I always remember 2:15 on a Thursday was a killer, because I tried to make sure that I have that you time that you were saying about on a Wednesday night in uni, and then
yeah,
I'd be knackered for the afternoon because we had to get up and train in the mornings. But no, you're exactly right. It's important to have you time, and that's kind of my time alone, but also my time, and that's probably where I was at last year. Is now's the time that I really need to spend more time with family,
yeah,
and having been able to have them with me for all that time was great. But I'm fully aware that none of us get any younger, unfortunately, or some of us
yeah,
try and stay 21, I think.
yeah, yeah.
That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, I did for years, but I
But
think I failed at it.
no. But no, yeah, it's been tough, but and it hasn't been easy. But you know what? If I hadn't have enjoyed what I've been doing, I wouldn't have done it for as long as I have. And that's the
Yeah,
bottom line. When people say, "Oh, you did it for a long while. How did you do it?" Because I enjoyed it. I wouldn't do it if I didn't.
yeah, and again, I speak to players now from various sports or various teams, and the way they talk about it sometimes would be like me talking about a bad day at the office. They talk about it in
Yeah,
the respect of it is a job, and you're talking about it, despite having over 100 caps and going to 3 World Cups, 3 Commonwealth Games with Wales. You still talk about it as if it's a hobby with your mates and the girls, and you've still
yeah.
got that smile on your face and the enjoyment that it has given you. I was looking at just some,
Let me come in.
go on.
Mikey, let me I've got to tell you this, because I nearly fell on the floor last week. I was wet. This was a student said this to me. So I was delivering one of the lectures in Cardiff Met, and I said, so introduce myself. He hadn't met me before. Introduce myself, to the group, and said, I'm the netball lead for academia, and hopefully I'll know a little bit about netball. We've got another lady here who's delivering as well, and between us, we'd hope we'd know quite a bit, but don't pretend to know everything, because I don't think you can possibly do that. So I gave them a bit of a background on my playing. So I got my first cap in 2005, and he said, "Oh, so you must be a veteran then by now, surely. You must be quite old, you know. And I was like, no way, I've been called a vets. And he was like, I think, isn't that a compliment? Surely you'd be in the veteran team. And I was like, everyone else was laughing. And I was like, well, the thing is, I am still actually playing. So, and he was like, yeah, do they have a vets team?
Little bastard,
Sorry,
have a backhand.
I had to come in there and say that because I don't know how to say that. He said it's a compliment.
Because it's a non-contact sport as such. I suppose that, I mean, my knowledge of netball is very little, so I'm not going to pretend I know too much. But can you play for longer? Because it's not like rugby or contact sports where you're just taking hit after hit after hit. If you keep your body fit and you've still got your senses and awareness about you, can you still play into, your mid to late 30s?
Oh yeah, absolutely, and I think it's actually deemed now a contested sport. So it would be so cool for you to actually see some of the netball, because whilst it's not contact, I would probably challenge some of the beliefs of people that maybe haven't seen that, and because it's physical, really, really physical, and you're exactly right. You have to keep fit, because otherwise you're not going to basically withstand the contest nature of the sport. But having said that, the support team around the team has now, and in comparison to when I started, I mean, we did have basic support. We were lucky enough to have S&C physio, and which we have now. It's just that I suppose there's been advances in technology and actually, research whereby you get specific programs, and there's new activities that you can do, and to keep your body able to withstand the physical nature of that. Which has allowed probably me to play as long as I have. I mean, down in the Southern Hemisphere, you tend to see, this quite regularly, actually, in terms of the numbers. Having said that, we see them being more of semi-pro and pro. So what I found probably the most challenging in the whole time I've been playing is actually the recovery. The fact of, trying to get up in the morning and train and then go straight to a day job and then perhaps train afterwards. That's trying to get a decent recovery before the next day. That used to really, really take it out of me, I think.
Yeah.
People used to know if I'd been training in the morning and I was grumpy.
Yeah, that is tough. Like, I was going to come on to the Southern Hemisphere because I was looking at a couple of things. So my family moved over there to New Zealand in January 2006, and my brother was a good footballer, good rugby player, and he played, I think he still plays semi-pro football now in New Zealand, about 7 years younger than me, so coming up 28 maybe. But when he was in school, and he had to play netball. And I said, oh, what's it like? And he was like, I'm not fucking playing that. I play rugby, I play football, I play blah, blah. And he said, it was all boys playing. And I was like, oh, go on, tell me about it. And he was like, basically, all the rugby lads grow up playing netball for their hand-eye coordination and passing and skills, but also the fitness is a lot fitter than you might expect.
Yeah. Oh, God,
so he got into it, and then he was playing a bit of mixed netball then as well. And,
it's massive.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge down there. And again, when I was looking at my knowledge of netball is rubbish in terms of who's good and who's bad. But I would assume that England's probably decent player pool and probably a bit of cash behind them where they've got the facilities and the infrastructure to be good. But I know I would assume your New Zealands and your Australias would probably dominate this, just because. Especially Australia, size of the country, the amount of people they've got playing it, but they put money into all sports that we don't always do that in the UK. They'll put money into not just rugby, not just football, not just rugby league, but athletics, golf, swimming, netball, hockey.
Yeah.
And I was looking at some of the team performances in the Vitality Super League, and you look at the Welsh team, you got to one grand final in that, in your career there.
Yeah.
But teams with other players from around the world were able
Yeah.
to maybe afford them, but they were better. And maybe
Yeah.
is there something where Welsh players could start to broaden their horizons and go and play further afield to become better, and then come back and help grow the game here?
Yeah, I think so. So just kind of going on to your first point about guys playing netball, and I always say this when I'm teaching: guys play netball and they're good, yeah.
Yeah,
And you're exactly right, because there's transitional skill. You know, there's skills that you can kind of use between invasion games, and we see guys play in slightly different way they're brought up to kind of see space rather than point to point. So
yeah,
whereas girls will pass player to player, guys will pass the space and expect people to move on to it, which it
yeah,
actually is successful in netball. Some of the guys' games are fab to watch, and we've actually got a guys' team in the UK and England, kind of a league that's building. So they've just started an association, mixed netball and men's netball.
yeah,
And we've seen the kind of the initiation of a couple of men's clubs, which is fab. And I know that we've played against the men. There's a men's team, but there's also a nights netball team, and they are fab. Made up, some of them, of kind of Kiwis, Aussies, South Africans are also, you know, pretty neat at netball. And there's we've had some in the past Caribbean players who've been
yeah,
fantastic, and there tend to be those Commonwealth countries, you know, the African nations, the Southern Hemisphere, and then as in Aussie, New Zealand, and then the Caribbean sides, you know, pretty decent at playing. But with regards to Welsh players, I think we need to look at probably making sure that we've got youngsters coming up and they've got the appropriate level competition.
yeah,
Because otherwise we're not going to get opportunities for Wales players to go out beyond Wales, and then come back in. We have had a couple of players who've been and played down in New Zealand in their club setup, and then come back. Chelsea Lewis is a good example
yeah,
of that. But you've got to be of a certain standard, I think, and I think that's probably where Wales are looking. They need to build. Yeah, so there's a good crop coming through, but they need to make sure that they've got, you know, the week in, week out, real tough match play, so that develops. Then there's an opportunity for them to perhaps go and play in club leagues over in Aussie, New Zealand, and then come back and bring some of those skills and ultimately strengthen
yeah,
the Wales kind of team. But again, if you have one or two or three or four go and do that, you've got role models. You've got, you know, other people can have those
yeah.
same aspirations, and we probably just don't see that quite so often. We tend to be home girls, don't we? Really, and we stay and kind of work our trade here. Really.
Is it frowned upon girls going across the bridge into England to play for club teams? Like obviously
No.
in rugby it is. You know, you're not. It's
Okay.
not really ideal if you go and play your rugby in England or Ireland or even Southern Hemisphere.
No, I think that the bottom line is, I don't think that we have the competitive structure of the competitive level in Wales.
Yeah,
You know, and I'd say that to anyone. If we want to make sure that girls don't go across the bridge, then actually we need a better standard here.
yeah,
But we haven't got it. So actually there's, you know, where there are opportunities to play of that standard to perhaps then propel us into Super League or NPL, which is the youth league, which sits just underneath,
yeah,
then, you know, let the girls go. But the only thing then is about making sure that they've got a support network to allow them to have good balance, rather than just be shattered.com
yeah,
and doing, you know, club work over there, club work here. that takes management, player management, and that was probably, I did quite a lot of that with the uni girls. It takes time, it takes effort, and it's not easy, because we all want to play and we want to play as much as possible, but they have to be managed, particularly at that age. The under 8 or kind of under 21s right down to under 16s, and even lower in some cases, because that's when you're moulding the bodies, and overtrain them. Then it's going to be, you don't push them into a good place to start from.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think. Yeah, we want to keep people in Wales. We want to make sure that we're well represented. But if the opportunities are there, hey, if the opportunities are down in the Southern Hemisphere for them, happy days.
Is that a funding thing more so than anything? Again, where we spoke in the beginning about commercial partners and just bringing more money into the game to be able to afford slightly better competition infrastructure, personnel, whatever that might be.
Do you know what? I've seen so many things tried, and I just don't know. I don't know what they can do and where. And I know that there was when I first started, there was actually their own Super Clubs kind of tournament, and there was a plan for that to actually be reinstated in the next year or so, but I don't know where that's at with COVID, or there was a possibility. I don't know if it was if it was confirmed, but it's tough because of the landscape of where it is and the leagues that are established. And I'm not saying that they're not good leagues, they're just not of the standard that will then allow our players to be competitive with Super League players. They will then probably have to take a step into the English Prem League. That's that bridging gap. We need to provide something in Wales for that. And there's been lots of ideas swung through in the last 10 years, I suppose, but nothing's ever really materialised. So, however you say that word, materialised. So, I think there's potential, because there's lots of potential with the youngsters coming through. Some really, really talented youngsters. We just need to look at giving them the right chances and not overplaying them is a big thing, because you get girls and you overplay them, they're either going to fall out of the sport completely, and because they lose their enjoyment. And like we've said so many times, I've been playing this long because I've enjoyed it, and that's massive. But also, they won't get a balance with their academic studies or whatever career pathway they want to choose, and then they'll be made to choose, which is hard again, and actually then you could lose them again from the sport. So there's fine lines, actually, I think.
How you played for the love of the sport, you can obviously see how passionate you are about it. How difficult is it when you go to Commonwealth Games or World Championships, knowing that there are other teams that are that if you guys go and play them, chances are they will beat you more times than not? So like you said, your Australias or your New Zealands or whatever, what's your mindset? Because I know you don't want to lose, but inevitably, Wales have never won one of those tournaments. So what's your mindset going into that? And do you just enjoy it for what it is, or does it still get you down that, for fuck's sake, it annoys me that we never fucking win against Australia, for example, or whatever?
I think you have to be realistic. You have to set realistic goals, and that's where we've been lucky to have good sports psychs and realistic coaches, I think, as well. If you go into a game like that saying we're going to beat Australia, you're almost setting yourself up for a fall. So you have to have small goals, which we tended to do every quarter. So, for example, that 15 minutes, how many goals or how many shots are we going to have at goal? And that's what we're aiming for. And we'd look back at what the score lines had been previously and the differences in the score lines. And then we kind of take, right, okay, so we were minus 50. then, so we're now going to come and look at a minus 40 whatever. Now I think that happened in 2000 and I want to say 16 or 17 when we it was the first time that Wales or netball had hosted or been hosted by the ice arena on the Devil's floor. So they'd laid a netball court, and I think we got beat by New Zealand. We played them on the Tuesday and the Wednesday, I think. So we played 2 tests, and we got hammered on the first game, you know, and we had a look at, right, okay, what was the score differential, right? How much can we do in 24 hours? Yeah. So we know that we're not necessarily going to win. Don't get me wrong, we're going in to compete. There's a different thing. You go in to compete, you don't just kind of go in and lie down and say, you take the ball, you know, have fun. Because that's not what sport is about, and you're not engaged, but you've got to be realistic. So we had a good discussion in our team, I remember, and I think stupidly the result of the second night kind of flipped over, and there was a difference of minus 36 goals. So we made 36 goals on what we'd lost by before. So it was so for us in 24 hours there was a different mindset there of, right, rather than competing and looking at something over 60 minutes, we're going to go shorter and we're going to go more small goal orientated. What are the focuses? 15 minutes. Let's not even think about who we're playing. And same goes in Commie Games and World Cup. Actually, there's going to be games there that, you know, right, we're not necessarily. You always go in to play well. You always go in to compete. You might know that we might get beat here, but I'm going to make sure I give them a bloody good game for them to want to win. They're not going to take the mick, you know. And they should respect us just as much because we're going to be competitive against them. And I remember, you know, having quarters against. You said Australia. I remember the first quarter in Glasgow, it was 11-10. And there was almost this, holy cow, what's going on? Like, it brought all the big guns on, you know? And second quarter, we didn't do so well. So, and then in Commie Games in 2018, same with the second quarter against New Zealand. And you can pick out certain quarters and say, right, okay, so how many shots did we have then, or how many did we miss, or what pass ratio was there? So it's shorter targets, which is probably what we're talking about when we get a knockback. What's the long-term goal? Well, actually, we have goals for each tournament. What ranking are we looking for, and how are we going to get there? Yeah, so realistic. It's like life, isn't it? Same principles apply, really.
No, I like it. I like the thought process that goes behind it. Like, I'm one of those that, as I've got older, I've enjoyed the process a lot more rather than just the outcome, where before it would have been all about the outcome, all about the glory. Look at me, we've won this or we've done that. Let's have a beer. Where now it's about the process and the journey and what you learn through that. And is there a better way to do it, a more efficient way to do it? And what's the outcome? And if the outcome isn't favourable, how can you then learn from that to take a different route and get a better outcome? And I think that's just come from maturing a little bit and getting a bit older, and again having, I suppose, some of those knockbacks that you might not have had in the past, but how you deal with them and grow as a person.
Listen to us, we're talking like veterans.
I know, I'm talking out of my ass there. What would you now, not older you, but what would you now say to your younger self back then, in both, you know, your netball career, but then also just, I don't know, life in general, maybe?
So I think I do try and say this to people, and like, so just enjoy the experiences. Like, work hard, play hard, create opportunities. But don't just create opportunities, you've got to take them as well. And we spoke about that, didn't we? About doing this podcast with you. And if you create, not that I necessarily create much of an opportunity, you obviously, well, I suppose being in uni with you, but I think it's important that sometimes you've got to get out of your comfort zone. and go for something. Do you know what? It might not work out, but if you never try, you're never going to know. I've got that kind of every day, everything is a learn. You know, every lesson is for learning. Some are not going to be pretty. Some are not going to be. You're not going to be happy afterwards. But actually, I try and put this slant on that everything that I do, I learn from. You know, that could be through gritted teeth and tears and a few explicit words. But you can't get time back, so there's no point on dwelling. And I think again that time point for me that really came was in that 2016 when there was family. You know, my dad wasn't well, and we had a really good talk. It was in hospital, and we had a really good chat. I bombed up the length of the country, and he just said to me, like, you've got to make the most of what you got, because you don't know when actually it might be taken from you. And that goes for job, that goes for sport, that goes for relationships, and unfortunately at that point it was a case of that goes also for life. But you know, we were really fortunate that he's fine, and he's with us, and he's still kind of bossing it, but or letting my mum and his daughters think that we're bossing it, but actually he is. But again, it you know, it really kind of hit me, and I thought, right, yeah, I've got to live that way, because I'm not getting any younger. It's my main.
That's cool. I like that. I'm always one of those people that I'd rather fail trying than have not tried at all.
Yeah.
And if more
absolutely.
people adopt it, I think too many people nowadays in general in society are worried about what people think and scared about failing. And if you look at any of the elite, or you know, the proper elite, your Michael Jordans and you know LeBron James, they failed more times than they succeeded, but that's what helped them succeed. And they're not afraid to admit that. They didn't like it, and they pushed standards, and they hated it when they failed, but failing for them was an integral part of that process.
Yeah, and it's the way you deal with it, isn't it? And like, we used to have a kind of a little bit funny. If I used to come here and if I'd lost, if our team had lost the game, everyone would know. Just give her an hour, just because I used to be really kind of like, you know, it is what it is, and go home, and then I'd be like, oh, I'm so pissed. That I'd be, and I've had a shit game, or I've done this, but actually, once that's happened, you've had that, right, so what did I learn from it? Right, okay, so next time you get on, don't do it, or try something different, or go and practice it. If you're not very good, or you did some bad stuff on the court, or you know, you didn't get a lecture right, go and put it right. So, and I'm thankful I've got the opportunity to be able to do that, I suppose. And again, it's looking at life differently, isn't it? And you're right, not being afraid to be uncomfortable and not be afraid to fail. That's so important. And I think we've built a culture that we are afraid to stick our hand up and say something just in case it's not right, or people might judge us on it. And that's the biggest thing that I say in uni is the space that we're in that teaching room or in the sports hall is a space to try things. We're all the same. And you're not going to get judged. You might have a little chuckle every now and then if it's really funny. But actually, you know, take the responsibility to, we can laugh at ourselves, we're human. And if you can't, take a look in the mirror. There's bigger things that you've got to worry about rather than making just a little mistake.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think some people just need to chill out a bit and stop taking life so seriously. What's the future then? So you got your doctorate on the way, and still gonna try and play when that comes back around. And what else is in the pipeline?
Well, so I think at the moment, I'm probably in this passage or period of time at the moment where I've accepted an offer, which is cool. I'm hoping for an enrolment early next year. Building a house, it's slightly bigger, hopefully, fingers crossed, in the not so distant future. Might be able to settle down. Though I think my other half thinks he's Peter Pan, never grows up. But no, and you know, we spoke before about you know, you having a little girl, and actually that family is really important to me. I've got, you know, the most beautiful goddaughter, bless her, and she says to me, "Suze, what are you doing, Suze?" And she's just, and I think spending more time with you know, with these guys and with my friends, and seeing them and their families and their weddings, and it's probably, I mean, I am the youngest, but it's probably time that I start to think about that as well. And we'll see. And I don't know, have me back on your 100th show when we reminisce on UWIC, and maybe I'll have some different things.
100th show on Mikey Rowe and his past previous lives that he's lived.
You've got to do that. That has to be something.
I'd have to censor out a few things, I think.
You'd have to vet them, I think, before.
Yeah, I would have to edit a few of them out. Hey, look, it's been lovely seeing you. Lovely to catch up.
Yeah.
Was it been 13 years, you said?
Oh my gosh, I know. And you look so cool, and I've loved just kind of seeing.
Mate, how do I look cool? I've got a shit moustache at the moment for Movember.
Well, it's Movember, surely. I'm talking about virtue smugglers. The pictures.
You can keep them in the back pocket, kid.
But it's still the same character, you know, still the same person. I haven't lost that, which is so important.
Yeah, well, I don't think I ever will. I just won't grow up, mate, to be honest. But that's just the way it is. I really appreciate you coming on. Big thanks to Tiny Rebel Brewery. They give me beers for every episode. You know you've made it when you get a free beer in life. Big thanks to everyone that subscribes, downloads, rates and reviews. Catch us on at Catflap Chats on Instagram and on Twitter, Facebook. We'll tag Susan, all the relevant social media channels. And if you've got any questions or you want any advice on netball or even university, Cardiff Met's a great institution as well. So drop her a message, ask her a question. She'll come back with some wisdom and knowledge. At least one of us is bringing out this episode. And we'll catch you all next week. Thank you very much.